So Colin, I know this one means a lot to you. This new costume issue.
Yeah.
Why did it mean
Well,
that?
I mean,
Why?
okay. So I don't know if I've said it in previous episodes or whatever, and we do mean to do an episode on the best costume designs for illustrating a comic. Spawn, top five, top three, even one of the this second suit is the best costume design of all time. Top three,
It
top
is
five,
pretty
whatever you
fucking
want to do.
sick, yeah.
It's
Is
it's
I'm
it?
it's
interested.
it's so versatile. Yeah, it's a dark
It
suit, same as Batman, but it's so versatile. You can do so much with it. You can do so much
I
with
have
it.
a feeling. I have a feeling that your criteria for best costume is purely does it look fucking cool? Is
Ah,
that your
oh
criteria?
please. No, it's
I
not that at
will
all. This
No,
I
is
will
no.
like,
put
Okay, what?
forward.
Okay, sell it for me. Like I don't have an opinion on the matter. Why is this one of the best ever?
well, okay, it's got the cape, it's got chains, it's got skulls, it's just menacing all around. He's got green eyes. The color scheme is amazing. It's
So
red
it's
on
fucking
black.
cool. Which
It's
I can't take that away
guitar
from it. It is
squeal
fucking cool.
just by looking at it. As soon as you
Yeah, yeah,
see it,
yeah.
you hear like you
So
hear it.
so but so I'm right. I mean, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's fucking cool.
No,
It's
come on,
sometimes
man.
it can't
No,
be
okay,
articulated.
you know what? You cannot deny this, Eric. I don't know if you've ever drawn him. I don't think I've ever seen you drawn Spawn, but I think any artist that draws Spawn has a really good time drawing Spawn. I'll be drawing Spawn for the second episode of this Capullo series because that's when we really get into Spawn. But Spawn and Batman, I'm going to be doing a Spawn versus Batman thing. But like,
Yeah.
it's Spawn is I think in my entire childhood, he's the only character that I was just like, fuck you, I'm just fucking, fucking the
Yeah, I mean, look at
fangs are
this.
coming out like this. I'm like,
Yeah.
look at that double page splash.
What's great
Look at
about
that
this
double page splash right there.
is that it does take what is great about the costume and just dials it up. Like these skulls, they
Like,
used to be
so,
polished metal and now they're little skulls. Like those are is that a child's skull that he has? What's going on here?
no,
What's with
but
this battering ram right gauntlet? What's with that gigantic boot? But I
my
do want to
dad,
also point out
I
the
was going to say,
cartooning. I think
my,
I think we can
yeah, go
see
ahead.
this
The
cartooning.
cartooning,
Yeah,
yes.
it's starting to come out,
This
right?
this is what was missing in that last issue that we looked
Yeah,
at.
he's
But
starting
like
to start
the little old
push
lady,
reality.
like if we can go to that little old lady,
Yeah,
God?
look at her.
Yeah, there she is.
yeah, I mean like the tiny eyes, just he's just pushing the features. I love there's a I think it's on like the second last page, so we'll see it at the very end. But there's this image of her standing, and the cartooning is just everything I love about his style.
Yeah, I love her bowed little legs here. That's not how legs go, but it really makes sense for this rickety old lady.
And it's just so dynamic.
Yeah.
You feel that movement.
I have to say though, as far as new costume goes, there aren't a lot of really like glorious shots of the new costume. And I think
You,
that actually is part of the plan. Like I know we get this, right?
the
And
double
that
page
is
splash.
yeah, and that is great, right? But I'm certain from this point on, Capullo wants to start making Spawn less human looking. Like he is and I think that's why he gets the redesign. He does not want a man shape. He wants a shape,
I
like
was
just a gothic shape.
Well, I mean, like, okay, so two different things. So there was a lead up that Spawn was getting a new
Yeah,
costume in issue 32, right? Issue 32, it was brand new costume. You got to get it. And when I got it, my dad, he didn't care for Spawn, but he would flip through my Spawn comics because he liked the art and stuff. When he got to this double page splash, he goes like, "That's not really a new costume. That looks kind of the same." And I went into like a murderous rage. I don't know. I blacked out. Something happened. But like you're saying though, Taylor, with this design, I think Capullo went for more of a Frazetta look going forward, because there was a lot of giant barrel-chested shots on the covers, especially of Spawn,
Yeah.
standing with like a giant axe or a giant gun or a giant whatever.
Mhm.
But it was very Frazetta-like in that sense. It's like a giant, triangular torso, like a Johnny Bravo torso, small head and like just a cape doing whatever served the composition. Um, which is why it's the best costume design of all time.
So he's also talked about how what he wanted to do was, and in general, when it comes to characters, they tell him how they want to be designed. So when it comes to Spawn, he wasn't really a fan of the first costume. It wasn't
Oh,
something that came from hell as far as he was concerned. This is something that comes from hell. This
okay.
is
So he designed this
I
one.
think so, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because the reason, like the spikes, the chains increasing in size. The apparently he was accosted at quite a few Comic Cons by fans saying like, "We don't like the new costume. The spikes look like they're from rose bushes," and he's like, "Yep, you bet they are." He was not shying away from, yeah, they're not polished metal. They're supposed to be garish and overgrown,
Like
almost
a
cancerous.
mess
Yeah, just
of spikes.
yeah.
That looks painful though. It looked like some of those spikes look like they should be digging into his leg.
I think they're supposed to, yeah. And then the cape becomes. I think this is a good example here. Like, ooh, that's pretty wing-like, right?
Yeah.
But as we'll see, as time goes by, we can track the development of it because it does change. He
Uh,
finds the costume even more.
can we just quickly discuss if you can go back to like the Wanda and Terry scene there, like his
Oh yeah,
talking head scene in the Spawn comic are vastly different from anything he did for Marvel.
that's true.
There's a lot more negative space, a lot more blacks, a lot more silhouettes of like just windows and blinds and things like that, and people just kind of whispering in the dark, and a lot of shots of eyes or of the mouth. Like there's a lot of that in play too.
Yeah, the setup here of them being in the background as though the camera is coming into their conversation, and you're right, cutting back and forth the different heights, and even this just no, it's husband and wife holding hands. His goal is to, because he has said part of his personal training for comics was watching movies without the sound.
Oh,
Oh,
interesting.
really?
And so, yeah, so his goal is, well, if you can't read, or if there are no uh, word balloons, can you still follow this? And yeah, I think he is conveying that, right?
Mm,
I
yeah,
love
100%.
that window panel there.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, that
And
reminds me of Electra
that's
Lives Again.
yeah, and that's an example of leaning into cartooning because
mm,
that's not realistic
yeah. No window like that exists.
and it's a beautiful composition. Yeah, it just looks great.
Yeah,
Even
because it
even
also
the
draws them
guy
down.
yelling on the phone, it's extremely exaggerated. Part of animation is to like push the character a little bit more than you would think. Like everything should be pushed more. If someone's yelling on the phone, draw them screaming on the phone.
Yeah,
And he's definitely using these principles.
So the top left panel, the first panel of the left page, beautiful establishing shot. Nothing more needs to be said. He doesn't revisit the background of the next few panels. You see like the shutter blinds behind Wanda in the middle panel there, but outside of that, just want to tell those who are aspiring artists, it's like if you can establish the world in the first panel or the second panel or whatever, really you don't really need to do too much
no,
going forward, right?
it
For the
is a
rest
good
of the
lesson
scene.
to. Yeah, it's a great
And it's
lesson to
not
learn.
it's not corner cutting. You've built the world. People are already in it. Just run with it.
It's also the sort of thing that you got to get used to too. I've found like, oh, but don't I have to draw it every time. People are buying this. But I also love that part of it is filling up the world with like, look at that face. Look
Yeah.
at this woman's face.
Mm,
That's a real lived-in face.
mm,
It's just a fun looking character.
yeah.
Yeah.
What do you guys think of? Because Todd McFarlane's inking this, right?
Not this. This one.
Yeah, yeah. These
Yeah, I
issues,
think he.
I was buying these issues
Yep,
Yeah.
he inked this
when they
one.
were coming out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
If he's under art, yeah, it's him.
what do you guys think of Todd McFarlane inking Greg Capullo?
Special thanks, Kevin Conrad.
Oh,
He might
Oh,
also be assisting on inks there.
the double page splash actually. Don't hold me to it, but that looks like a Kevin Conrad ink page. I get the vibe that's a Kevin Conrad
really? What
page.
makes you say that?
It's just
Kevin
smoother
Conrad
to
may
me.
come up again.
It's smoother compared to McFarlane. McFarlane's very scratchy, but this is
This
a
page
very
sold on
nicely.
Heritage Auctions. I'm gonna look that up.
Look it up and look who inked it, if you can.
So I'm looking at it here, Colin, and according to Heritage Auctions, they sold this original art, and the bottom of the page is signed by Todd McFarlane and Greg Capullo. So this is a Todd
Damn.
McFarlane ink page.
It's just the face that Spawn's face there. It looks. I don't know. It just
I get what you mean, though. Yeah, I don't know a lot about Kevin Conrad's work, but it
yeah.
does have that kind of feel to it.
Because
So
Kevin
all of you
Conrad
guys,
was it? Kevin Conrad did a pinup, a double page pinup in a Spawn earlier Spawn issue, where he's coming at you. Okay, it's kind of like a Wolverine sort of shot of Spawn with his cape out and everything, and that's kind of what reminded me of this. So I was just
Mm.
thinking that maybe Kevin Conrad inked this one.
Well, I will say Kevin Conrad is was an old friend of Capullo's. He
oh really?
learned, yeah, Kevin Conrad went to art school, and he was one of the people that Capullo really learned a lot of the more academic stuff from, perspective, especially. So it's not surprising that they would have, at the very least, traded stylistic choices back and forth, especially when you're figuring out, because this is the first time this costume comes up, right? So maybe he hasn't settled on, no, the eyes need to be smaller or something.
But to speak to the inking, the previous issue we looked at was Spawn number 16, which
Yeah.
was what Dan Panosian and Art Thibert, and it did not have this stylistic amount of detailing, tick
No.
marks, just like random lines.
Yeah.
And in
What's
this era of Spawn, I think Greg Capullo is drawing in a similar way, just with more cartooning, and Todd McFarlane is the one who is adding all those superfluous lines, the extra detail. And then in this era of Spawn, I think Greg Capullo does sort of grab that sort of style and adapts it to the work even when Todd McFarlane exits. Is there something to that theory?
I'll touch on it more on the next issue, but he is given a lot of free range at this time, from this point onward, but especially in the 40s through 60s, he's got like a 20-minute phone call, and that is it.
That's his
Right?
script.
That's his script. He makes notes. Sometimes he just records the phone call and kind of jots stuff down, but for the
That's
most
the
part,
Stan Lee Jack Kirby way of
yeah,
making comics.
it
Yeah.
is, yeah.
Wow.
And I really think, as far as a duo that works well together, I don't know that you can actually get better than these two.
Yeah.
And I don't say that in terms of like the output that they produce, because you can feel however you want about Spawn. Some will say, "Oh, it's fucking rad, and that's all I need." Others would say, it can rightly say, "It's kind of dumb, but it's fun." But I think in terms of two guys working together, this is what we all want Kirby and Lee to have been, because they really are like taking and giving from each other. Because I think you're right, the tick marks, he's picking those up, and when he is given more free range, he eventually pulls back, thinking like, "Oh, I kind of went too far on this."
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Taylor, I discussed this before we started recording. Is I think that from 32 onward, Spawn itself was probably the best looking book on the stand any
Yeah,
week, right? So, like, it was. I think that had a large part to do with its sales, is because it just looks the best. It doesn't matter. I mean, story wise, it's basically Spawn beating the shit out of somebody every issue, with exceptions, right? But just the way it looked, the overall aesthetic of it, Spawn was the best looking book on the stands any day of the week. My dad could care less about Spawn, but he would still flip through it because it looked so nice,
So
right?
me personally, I only started reading Spawn around 29, 30, 31. So Greg Capullo was the what I associated with Spawn. You were there with McFarlane
Yeah,
transitioning over to
yeah,
Capullo.
yeah.
A lot of people were not happy with that, but
no, they
you
were
weren't
not.
complaining.
No,
You weren't
I was
complaining at all, were
me
you, Colin?
myself. No, no, I was complaining too. I'm like, when's he coming
Really?
back? When's Todd
Really?
coming back? Okay, like, okay, maybe 32. Nope, he didn't end up drawing 32. Okay, well, maybe 50. Nah, no, he didn't really do much in 50. Like, I
But
kind of,
you still loved the art.
yeah, I still no, I yearned. I yearned for him to come back, but I was not disappointed at all with what Capullo was putting out. Capullo definitely was a fantastic Spawn artist. He's better than McFarlane, of course. He's better than
Yes.
McFarlane. Even at
And
the time, I knew
McFarlane
he was
might
better
even
than
agree
McFarlane.
with.
No,
I
McFarlane
remember
He
does
does.
agree with it. McFarlane straight up
Yeah.
says Capullo is probably one of the best who's ever worked in the medium. Period.
I
Yeah, that was
remember
fun.
at the time this was happening in the letters pages with the fans asking when are you coming back. I vividly recall Todd McFarlane writing that uh, he was feeling like he was getting lazier. Like there would be shots that Greg Capullo would draw of buildings, fully rendered buildings, and Todd McFarlane was saying, if I was drawing that scene, I would just do a silhouette. And so
Yeah,
that's when I realized I need to hand this over.
Yeah.
that's fair.
Even
Yeah.
when McFarlane was doing Spider-Man, he had a background artist, Ken Davis, who was doing all his backgrounds. Even like a character lying on a bed, like McFarlane would draw the character lying down, and Ken Davis would actually just draw the bed and draw the background, the walls, and everything else.
And to
Like
be
he,
fair, that was when Amazing Spider-Man was bi-weekly and he had
exactly.
to
Oh,
pump
okay.
Yeah.
out like 40
Yes.
pages a month.
Yeah.
That's good
Yeah.
to know. Because otherwise, that's brutal.
Yeah.
You were saying this final shot.
I
This,
love that. Yeah.
That's a nice shot of God there. Yeah.
yeah. I love it's the jacket is too big and too small for her at the same time. It's made
She's
for a
got
completely different body shape, but she's still like, nope, I'm not gonna.
Well,
she's got
she
such a
has
nice shape and
she's
like
got
Yeah.
the right hunch, and
Yep.
the way her fingers,
yeah.
yeah, just everything about it for sure.
Hand acting is a big focus on him as he goes. I think you see it in the later half of Spawn a lot more, but like
But you'll notice she's also bow-legged there.
yep,
Like
I
just a
love
lot
it.
of like just a kind of like just over. She's very much at the end of her life, but she has all the problems that some elderly people would have as well. Like just overall worn out, but still very lively. Like her expression is very
spry, yeah, a spry looking
exactly
face,
sharp
yeah,
as a tack. Yeah.
and then floats out the building as though
And floats out. You see that little like windiness in
yeah,
the trail, the light trail there.
Yeah, it's so fun.
It's
yeah,
so fun.
which
Now,
again I think goes to the cartooning.
I was so happy to be looking at this stuff this week because I don't have a lot of cartooning in my work, and I want to add more of that into my work. And especially with I just started a new issue of assorted crisis events, and with this new issue that I'm working on, my goal is to add quite a bit of cartooning because the
Oh,
subject matter
interesting.
requires it. And I was so happy to look at this stuff because I'm just grabbing
A
little
lot of
bits
info,
that I want to adapt.
Nice.
a lot of inspiration there.
But at the same time,
Yeah.
he is also keeping that, like, he's making sure that the lighting works, right?
Yeah.
that there's block shadow and cast shadow, and
Yeah.
it's
Just one last note is the first and last page are the exact same
yeah.
composition too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a nice
with some funny
dichotomy.
perspective, some funny perspective
Yeah, it
there.
makes
Yeah, and man,
absolutely.
it's a Spawn comic. Come
I
on,
love
man.
it. I love it.
Yeah, this building is 100 miles tall. It's sitting in the middle
Yeah.
of the biggest
Which
city on.
thematic, it makes sense. It's
It does.
heaven.
Yeah,
It's a building full of angels from heaven, right?
but
So
Mm.
it's a push, right? You don't.
yeah,
He's not showing you New York. He's showing you Spawn's New York, and
yeah, and realism is overrated in comics,
it is.
Big time.
and
Big
like
time.
Yeah,
a certain reader just wants realism and gritty and dark, and this is like I love it because it's just screw realism. Let's create a cool image. It doesn't have to make sense.
Let us jump now to 67. Over 30 issues later. I don't know why, but this cover has lived in my head
Oh
since I
yeah,
saw it.
Yep. Yep.
I just love that it's not what you would have seen at the time. Just our hero's face, all like it's literally rotting, and a gun up against him. Like he's shrinking back. He's into his own cape.
The other thing, I
looks
mean,
so mangy.
anatomy wise
Yeah,
too, just like that skull of Spawn's head, it's
yeah,
very, very exaggerated, right? Like those
and yet,
eyeballs don't really fit into actual sockets. They're just kind of
yeah.
imposed upon the skull. You know.
But also make a complete amount of sense when viewed altogether as well. Like that cape collar shouldn't work, and yet also I spent so many math classes trying to draw that cape. Just
Yeah,
those, just that little bit on the side.
I
Uh,
love that first page because
yes,
that first page.
Mm,
this one, right?
Yeah, because I mean, we've seen a lot of complicated pages with way too much detail. I mean, way too much is like I don't know, arguable, but we've seen a lot of complicated page with a lot of detail, a lot of visual information,
mm.
a lot of visual noise. Maybe you could argue, but this is like restraint and yeah, it. I mean, it's just the window and then the silhouettes against the window and a little bit of lighting on the figures.
Yeah,
So
just enough to show you the human figure.
I would say that this is a very risky page to do. Talking from the aesthetic of you have $4 and you're going to spend it on a comic, and if the first 2 or 3 pages are all black, it's like, are you getting the most bang for your buck? So stuff like this is very, very risky, but Spawn had its established fan base. This is around the time too that he was adopting a lot of the movie aesthetic into his comics. Like you can see in the credits page there, that's the Spawn
Yeah,
mask from the movie.
yeah, it's quite a bit
Um,
different, eh?
but if you're already invested, you can you'll tolerate stuff like this. And I say tolerate not in a negative sense, but like, this is a very nice looking page and all
You're
that.
willing
But
to
like
see where it goes.
exactly that.
Yeah.
So, but you need that base before you start taking risks like this. Like if this is issue one of your
That's a
creator-owned
good
book,
point. Yeah.
and it's like
Yeah.
2 panels and they're both like 90% black,
I think
who
this
knows?
also I think this also goes to him what he's said in the past about the characters and the book tell you how it wants to be drawn. Like Spawn is a moody, urban, filthy fantasy, right?
Yeah.
But then turn those lights on and like nobody is built like Sam and Twitch, especially
Mm,
Twitch.
mm.
Yeah.
He has no chin. it just his head is a light bulb
I
that
tell you what,
talks.
though, something tells me that
That
he had
is
a
a light
great
bulb.
time drawing these scenes.
Yeah, I think he did.
Yeah.
His again, I got a lot of insight from the interview at the back of Spawn
100.
100. Yeah, where it's
Yeah.
just the two of them talking and just broing out about the change
Yeah.
and what they like to draw. And yeah, he specifically calls out these two and just them talking, because for this sort of thing, he would have been told, so Sam and Twitch are talking and it's going to be about X, right? So it's his choice to put him in the dark. Suddenly the lights come back on. Turns out Sam is eating a sandwich while taking a
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah.
And because that is not the instruction that McFarlane gives, right? It is just Sam and Twitch are talking, and I need them for, 3-4 pages.
That sound effect is drawn in, that plop on the left page. So is that drawn in, do you think, or did the letter Tom Orzechowski actually do that?
That looks lettered to me, but
Did it look lettered to you?
what do you guys think?
Well,
There was a point where Tom Orzechowski transitioned over to digital lettering, and I think around this time he was still lettering on the page,
Actually,
because
yeah.
his digital lettering looks
no
different than
way, really?
Yeah, now that you bring that up, it does have a very drawn look to it, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is something that also lends itself to Capullo is the toilet paper roll on the right page at the bottom. It's a very organic looking toilet paper roll. It's not just a cylinder. Um,
Oh yeah, because it kind of
the
like
character
curves
he adds to
in,
just
and
inanimate props like that
yeah.
is I mean, the guy's a genius.
Okay, so I'm on Heritage Auctions. I found a page from Spawn number 70,
Okay.
and there is no lettering inked on the page. So
Ah,
Digital then, eh?
either that or it's a paste up. It might be a paste up.
it
Todd
could be. Yeah.
Rosachowski is, yeah, I think he's been on the book since the beginning. I think he's still on, but he's doing digital lettering.
He is one of the consistent guys. But more to breaking of panels and just kind of making something, drawing your attention to it. For instance, that's the window on their detective agency, right? And it just
Yeah,
becomes a panel into itself.
yeah, it looks great.
And I like that he doesn't use like a straight on rectangular shot of the door
Yeah,
window.
yeah,
He actually tilts it to a 3/4,
yeah.
you know.
And then to have, like, she just kind of exists in this space, but you get enough of Twitch here to know, oh, okay, I see what's happened. She's come in. Okay, I
That's
get
a
you.
very 90s thing to have the outline like I don't know, like that should be blacked out, but for some reason the choice was to not put in the blacks, and yeah, it leaves the
Yeah,
colorist in like an awkward position, doesn't it? Because
Well, weren't the well, not the image artists, like Jim Lee, Mark Silvestri, and the X-Men runs, were they not doing stuff like this too?
yeah, it's a very 90s thing,
Yeah.
but
yeah. I think it's the sort of thing, actually, what Colin was talking about at the beginning of this issue is you can do that now, right? Because it's not just that the audience will come with you, it's that your collaborators are going to come with you, right? When
Mm,
Capullo lays down the lines for that Twitch silhouette, he's trusting Brian Haberline and Dan Kemp know what they're talking about, know what to do,
mm, mm.
right? They've established that, okay, well, I'll put a different tone around and make him part of the gradient around him.
and these are the Photoshop days, because the
Yeah.
issues we had prior was
Yeah.
pre-Photoshop, and you couldn't do these complicated gradients with Steve Olive of Ollie Optics colored those early issues, and yeah, he speaks about how it was some proprietary software that he got, and
Oh.
the only gradient you could do was like a circle gradient, I believe. So he would like isolate certain areas and then fake a gradient through that circle gradient, but like you couldn't have done that here, and that was part of the reason that Todd McFarlane let him go, was because
Oh.
he saw all these other Photoshop effects that were going on, and Todd McFarlane wanted state of the art coloring on Spawn, and if your program can't do all these cool tricks, then we'll get somebody who can do all these cool tricks.
Brutal.
Which I actually much prefer the Ollie Optics stuff because of its limitations.
Oh, interesting.
And also, it's like Steve Olive's coloring was just like cemented in my mind as like 90s computer coloring. It's got this very specific look about it that I really like. And then this looks very modern.
I think that's what that's really stood out to me is just how well it's all working together. It is modern, but it goes together. I'm just now noticing Vanilla Ice portrait right here for absolutely no reason. I also wanted to point out, I don't know why, I like this little joke. This panel border becoming a joke. I don't know why, but it's super fun.
Yeah, it's great. The panel border is expanding.
Yeah, just to catch that. Oh yeah, check out how far he can go.
Yeah.
Also, the cartooning, he is unrestrained at this point. Like, he is really going, look at all these faces.
Yeah.
They are just so weird looking.
It's so great.
But we also get to see the cape. Like, the cape is really
those token shots just they make it. They make the page.
Yeah, it's like it's wrapping itself around him.
Man, when I was buying Spawn at this time, and how old was I when this issue came out? I don't know, like
12, 13.
Yeah, and my local realtor, my local retailer made a comment about how he didn't like Spawn, and I'm a dumb kid. Oh, you don't like Spawn? Why don't you like Spawn? And he was saying, 50 issues. Do you know how much has happened in 50 issues? He's complained about his wife. He's fought 3 villains. Nothing has happened, and I was like, "Oh my, is that true?"
Sam and Twitch in this issue, 67 issues in, are still trying to tie Billy Kincaid, the child murderer who dies in issue 5, to the chief that we saw in issue 32. Your local realtor is right. It's a snail's pace, but at the same time, god damn, this looks cool. Like, look at that cape.
It's metal as hell.
Looking book. It was the best looking book.
Yeah.
And this was better looking than X-Men, than Spider-Man, than any other book on the stands.
And
hands
angle
down.
choices. Like, I love this this top-down shot.
Yeah, that's a nice one.
It's difficult to do at times, especially with all these different body types. Like, how tall are these guys?
But you can tell he does have it in his mind that Spawn or Al Simmons has this barrel chest figure that tapers down.
Oh yeah, because he's super skinny. Yeah. He has a super skinny waist and just like huge shoulders.
Yeah, that's Frazetta all the way.
Yeah, but he is starting to bring in this shape mentality as well of, there's a real guy under there, but Spawn is not, you don't see the arms and legs. It's just kind of this, he said he wants to make him more vampire-esque. He wants to make him almost like he's gliding through places. And when you see stuff like the cape kind of sucked up close to his body, you start getting a lot more of that.
Yeah, I like that idea of like gliding, the imagery of Dracula.
Yeah.
It's very cool.
There you go, Colin. Look at him. Look at him.
That's the hero shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But even so, just all of the stuff that he still has on him, like the arms and hands become less human-like. It's definitely a slow progression. But he wants him to be unrecognizable as a human.
In Angela, Neil Gaiman introduced this really interesting thing about how when Spawn was transported to heaven, his costume actually went crazy and just kind of spiked out. and kind of like as a defense mechanism or whatever. Like it really went on like all cylinders firing. All the spikes came out. All the chains really extended out. The skulls actually really started like freaking out and like snapping at anything around them, and that lent a lot to like the life of the costume itself. Now in here you can see anytime he does something where he's really menacing and like he's just kind of trying to intimidate somebody, the chains, the skulls, they're very subdued, but it's more his form, his
Yeah.
actual human form. Whereas when he's fighting somebody, the cape's going all over the place, the chains are like whipping out and all this kind of stuff. It's more like if he's intimidating someone, it's more just like the shape. But when
Yeah.
he's actually in like action mode or attack mode, it's just all over the place, right? It's like just an explosion of red and metal and all that kind of stuff. So best
In
costume
this
design of all time.
in this uh in this particular issue too, it's interesting that you bring that up because he is, for whatever reason, through happenstance, Spawn has found himself in a heaven dead zone so that his costume does not work and he just
Yeah.
gets torn up. But I love, even so, like,
The green blood itself,
yeah, yeah, the
so
necroplasm
great.
or whatever they
Yeah,
call it. It's great.
necroplasm. It's awesome. The green is just it's awesome.
Who's
uh
inking? Who inked this issue? Was this the Danny Mickey years?
no, this is not Danny
It's
Mickey
still Todd,
yet.
isn't it?
It's Todd and somebody else. Let's see. Chance Wolf.
Oh,
Hmm.
Chance Wolf. That's the guy that's. Oh shit. That's the guy that did that Spawn pinup that I was talking about. The double page Spawn pinup.
Oh, okay.
Fuck. Hang on a
Who
second.
are each of your favorite inkers on Grey Capullo?
I think I'm gonna go with Danny Mickey. I haven't
Oh
had a
Danny
yeah,
Mickey.
chance to.
Yep. All day,
Yeah,
every day.
I like Glapian.
Yeah.
I also like
So
Galapian.
Galapian is clean. Mickey is more rough,
Mickey is in
unrestricted,
that
and
McFarlane school where he's just adding so much more detail, so many little
Yeah,
tick marks, and I loved that stuff when I was a kid. I just I couldn't get enough of that stuff. And as an adult and as I guess an older artist, I much more appreciate the restraint in Glapian's ink, where he doesn't feel the need to just like throw just more and more and more and more on there.
I think they're both doing what they need to for the specific book. Like, Batman should be cleaner. He is one of the triumvirate of the DCU. He's a leader. He's a father. He's maybe a husband. Depends on how you read it. He's supposed to be clean and bright, despite being the Batman. But Spawn literally lives in the alleys of New York.
Yeah, that's a
yeah.
good point.
Fun fact.
Just everything looks dirty.
Yeah, I do want to point out actually, Spawn spends all of his time in New York City alleyways, and apparently on Manhattan there are no actual alleys. Those don't exist.
That's crazy.
Spawn itself, the comic, the design of the comic itself, the book design, the credits page, the inside cover, the backside cover, all of it is the best put together book on the stands at the time.
Mm,
Extremely well done. It felt special. It felt important every time you picked up a Spawn comic book, even though, like, I don't give a shit what you say about the story and the character itself, but that book for $4, $3, whatever it cost at
No,
the
yeah,
time,
famously it was $2.99
$2.99.
for
Yeah, he
for
kept it two
decades.
ninety five.
whoa.
He kept it,
2.95, yeah.
and then $1.95 for a fair chunk, and then $2.95, and
And it was
yeah,
always glossy paper. Around in the 90s, Marvel
exactly,
brought in glossy
exactly.
paper and then took away the glossy paper and then brought it back. And
Yeah,
yeah, it went back and forth. But like Spawn, consistently the same price, consistently glossy paper, consistently this like modern coloring style.
top of the
That's
line
a
graphic design, top of the line, just everything.
yeah.
Production value overall, Spawn. I don't care what you think about the story or what you were getting out of it, but like it was the bang for your buck for sure.
I will say I feel like this is where the story really starts to come together, though. Like the especially
At 93,
yes, 93. It's where it
at
really starts
93,
to come
hey,
together.
it turns out Al Simmons found his actual real killer. It wasn't Chapel the whole time.
Nope, it was Jessica Priest.
It was New Line
Ah.
Cinema. New Line Cinema. Obviously, the character was created for the movie. But so I did read an interview with Todd McFarlane in Wizard Magazine where he was not afraid to adapt the comic to whatever aesthetic the movie, the TV show, the toys, whatever brought. He was very much willing. He said he was willing to drop the cape. And when he said he was willing to drop the cape, I'm like, dude, don't drop the cape. I'm not going to buy the comic anymore if you drop the cape. Don't drop the cape.
It makes
The
sense though,
cape is everything.
because it
The
was
cape is
also wasn't it Chapel who was originally
Yeah, so him and Rob Liefeld kind of integrated their mythoses between Youngblood and Spawn, and so
yeah.
Chapel was supposed to be the killer of Al Simmons, but then after the movie came out, he kind of was like, "Well, it's not. It wasn't him. It was her." It,
Well, and
I don't know how he.
Liefeld has left the company at that point too. He
Yeah,
has been
and they were
fired.
not
Yeah,
on speaking terms.
Yeah.
yeah.
Once again, we see I love this cape. I love what it has become. This makes no sense whatsoever.
But guys, look at the Reds.
Oh yeah, no,
Look at
it's great.
comp.
Like
Like,
I'm
come
not saying
on.
anything bad about it. I think it looks amazing. I love that he's doing like the bunny ears with the
Yeah,
or antenna almost,
Yeah.
and it's like he's just constantly drawing this
Yeah, just
cardigan
all
around him.
bunched up like Batman,
Yeah,
all
yeah,
bunched up and just kind of foreboding.
yeah.
yeah, but
Uh,
but unlike Batman, this is completely unrealistic, and it looks so cool because of that.
Well,
Like,
we'll get to Batman next time, but there is a he did respond to and approach Batman differently because of concerns fans had about his Spawn work. They really were
oh wow,
expecting the thing that he saw consistently was, oh great, now the cape's going to be 20 feet long. What's like so he's like, "Oh, okay, well, I guess I won't do that then." Like that was his plan.
oh
So,
really?
to make it a huge cape. He's like,
well,
oh,
To
okay,
make
well,
it like this, to
yeah,
make
yeah,
him,
do you think
yeah.
that, I mean, again, in terms of creative choices, getting Glapion to do some really solid, slick inks, really organized inks, had to do with that? Was that like in Spawn, he was running wild, right? And you had
I
to
mean,
Well,
kind
I
of
whenever
wasn't it
rein it
just
in.
like wasn't it just that Capullo chose him?
Was it
uh,
Capullo that chose him, or I don't
Yeah,
well,
know.
because
I don't
I
know
don't
anything
I
about
don't
that.
think Glapion was a McFarlane guy. I think I don't know for certain, but I suspect Capullo brought Glapion over to DC.
we will find out next time. Uh, yeah, I love the cartoony faces. I feel like this is his peak cartooniness. It is the correct balance between rubbery faces and correct anatomy. And we get him
He has this squiggly lined smile that he adds to people that I really
like
like.
all this stuff.
Yeah, is there some examples in
Like the
these
corners of the
figures?
mouth, you
These,
mean?
yeah, the corners of the mouths would get really
Hmm.
squiggly, which I
Hmm.
really loved. Which was such a it was a
Hmm.
Capulloism.
Yeah, mouths
Smiles.
being held in ways
It's
that
such a
people just don't do.
You know, I,
yeah, and it's such a
I went
signature
through a
of his.
phase of drawing hands with his kind of fingernails, where all the fingernails were kind of like chipped and just really hatched out and stuff. I would do that for like every hand I drew for a while. Um, didn't matter who it was. Yeah, like everybody's worked a hard day's work. That's why they're all fucking chipped and overgrown and stuff. Yeah.
I do want to draw particular attention to this guy on the run. Just this sequence. He's barely in it, but like he's not even in this. But you get, oh, he's blowing through. It's just a great use of
Running
um,
through foliage.
yeah, and the desperation, because he is not a man who is in any kind of shape to run. Just the tuxedo alone is got to make it difficult.
Mm.
Oh, he just looks so uncomfortable. It's great. I just love how he's responding to this character, this one-off character, like he really would operate in the world.
I love how it's a 5-panel page, and 4 of those panels are
Yeah.
close-ups, and it's great.
Yeah, that look over the shoulder of, oh God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the delight on everybody else's face.
Just pure evil. They're hunting him.
Yeah, look at this asshole. Right?
Oh, I love how he's
look at
hanging
her.
off the branch. You see how he's
Yeah,
just
like
hanging off the branch, be like, "Hey, how's it going?" You
like
know?
some shitty
They all look insane.
frat boy from the 1930s.
And the
Just
expression on his face is so just like
it
nonchalant.
is. You know what it makes me think of the very end of The Warriors. You ever see that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course. Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
just like, "Where are you?"
Come out and play.
Come out to play. Yeah, I
And
remember.
the and all of the
Yeah.
scratches on this guy as he's like, bah, I'm gonna die of either a heart attack or being eaten by everybody. One of the two.
On the right page there, that's a very interesting choice for him to do the exasperated breath coming out of his mouth, like the
Mhm.
little puffs of
Yeah.
air coming out of his breath. I don't think he's done that.
Yeah,
Maybe
actually, I
once
haven't
or twice
seen.
throughout the entire run of Spawn, but
Yeah, that's a good point.
he
But
made that
it's
choice
very
there for one
effective.
reason or another. Yeah.
It is a good idea too, because it shows you like this guy is superheated and he is in a cold environment. Like that temperature change, it would actually occur, right? If you were
Mm,
super hot and in the wet cold of a forest, it would be
mm,
awful.
yeah.
This is a great
And then he's
example of like.
hunched over. Sorry, go back
Yep.
one scene. So in the second to last panel on the right, he's hunched over and you see his butt crack showing because his
Yeah.
pants are just like
I
I
love that
like
detail.
it's very unflattering, but things like that happen
Yep.
when you're running for your fucking life,
Yep. Yeah, he's just
right?
falling apart.
You don't care.
No.
You're just you're just trying to make it, and your shirt gets untucked, and your whatever you start sweating, and the clothes are matted to your skin, and all this kind of stuff. So that's a really I don't know who decided to do it that way, but I don't know, if it was Capullo, I mean that's a brilliant shot.
It is, because I think at this point
It's very telling.
he's like I said, he's not a story crafter, but he is the storyteller. It to him, he's the director, the
Yeah,
actor, the
yeah,
cinematographer in all of this.
And the entire story came from a phone conversation, you figure.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Pretty much. Yeah.
It's what he is constantly described it as that. Even in conversations where McFarlane is with him, I've heard him say, "Oh yeah, yeah." Sometimes I'd give him some dialogue for context or tone, but it was more of a placeholder. It didn't really matter. All I really wanted was Greggy to do his thing, because he really does think. I think he's like, I can't believe I fucking found this guy. I don't have to do anything. He does it all himself. You don't have to watch over him or nothing.
No, he's the one. Greg Capullo's the one. Even when Batman was coming out, that was the best looking book on the rack. That was the best DC looking book, but it was
It
the
was.
best looking book overall. You had to buy Batman
I bought
just
so
every
because of
so
single
him.
one.
is his Wolverine book the best looking book on the stands right now?
Right now, yes, I'll say
Yeah.
that. We'll probably cover it in the last episode of our
Yeah,
Capullo thing. But the Batman, or excuse me, the Wolverine book is fantastic. Wolverine looks exactly how he should. All the characters look exactly the way they should. Aesthetically, very just you. It's like those characters are moving the way they should because thing is, he doesn't really draw spandex, but he doesn't really draw realistic clothing per se either. But the characters move in
And I
such a
wouldn't want
way
him
that
to.
no, I
yeah.
wouldn't want him to. But the characters move in such a way that like those suits make sense. You know what I'm saying?
I love this scream. I find it so difficult to do a good gaping mouth that communicates a scream or anguish or something. But here he is, the head craned back. That mouth is wider than any human mouth could be, but it it's so well done.
This is a Spawn comic, and it's just a you know what is that novel? The
Oh, Most Dangerous Game.
most dangerous game.
Yeah.
That's what this is.
So what's
And then
happening
Spawn
is
shows up.
yeah, so what's happening is he actually tells him, "Oh, I love this hunch he's got going on." Just like boom. He just he goes from back to it feels like he immediately is
Yeah,
up against the guy. Yeah, the
intimidation
idea
game.
is that they are
Mm.
trying. They're a bunch of rich assholes that are trying to bring about the a dark god who
Mammon, I think it is.
this one is Urizen.
Mm,
Mammon is the guy that you see every now and then in the suit with
mm.
the scars over his eyes.
Right, right.
Um, and the idea is that they all hunt each other and then eat whoever is picked, so that the last person has consumed like 12 other people and will be the vessel for this dark god
Why is this guy afraid? Isn't shouldn't he be happy?
because it's not time. Not yet. Have you come for me? He doesn't understand what's going on.
Oh,
Mm.
okay.
Yeah, he's mistaken Spawn for this dark god. I like this use of just kind of imagery. Like,
Yeah.
did this even occur? Maybe,
Mm.
but like this didn't happen. It's a nice one page. All right, let's get this their stupid plan out of the way.
So this is the second to last page on the right, right?
I believe so.
What's the last page?
Yes. Oh no, we're. Oh yeah. Well, it's hard to tell, but
Well,
it's
flip
kind of.
over
We are towards
towards
the
the
end.
end.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
he's just done like a good, what, 8 or 9, maybe 10 pages of just a guy running through the forest, getting hunted and all this kind of stuff. There's a lot to draw there. Now he's kind of, I don't want to say taking a break, but like he's kind of slowing things down. He's kind of just using these
Oh
spot
yeah. That's a
illustrations
good
to
point.
just kind
Yeah.
of slow it down and be like letting the reader kind of take in story wise what's just occurred and just kind of summing things up for the next issue.
Yeah, that's a good point because
Yeah,
he
there
does.
you
Yeah,
go.
he's
Again,
yeah, he's doing
one,
it
two,
twice.
and then I don't know how many pages are left on this one, but
This is
Oh, it's
exposition time.
exactly that's the word I was looking for. Thanks,
yeah,
Eric. Exposition time for sure.
yeah, and then back into the chase, and Spawn just getting more and more inhuman.
Because I mean, like he's drawing a lot there.
Yeah,
There's a lot to fuck, especially in terms of not just composition, but there's a lot of figures there. There's a lot of expressions there. There's a lot of props there. Like there's a lot to kind of take on, so that you need those little slow points to kind of just catch up. In terms of like the page rate is the same for every page, you know, so you can afford to kind of slow down once in a while if you work for Todd McFarlane, I think.
Well, it's a marathon, so you have to choose your battles and you have to plan
De-
pages appropriately.
well, deadline work is deadline work, right?
we'll see this more come up in Batman. He uses it a lot more in Batman, but I really appreciate his use of super close up, so close up like this of you can't see the whole person just to
Mm.
frame another person,
Yeah.
just to almost draw your attention to another figure, and gives this sense of depth because it still works, right? If this panel is from this asshole's point of view, then yeah, that's her. Okay, yeah, that works out. It's the kind of attention to detail that I really appreciate in any kind of visual medium. It oddly enough makes me think of Denis Villeneuve's movies.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, just
Really?
kind of the general keeping geography not just for himself but also for the reader.
Hmm.
Hmm. Yeah.
Setting it up, I guess. It doesn't seem flashy, but it is something that needs to happen.
I'm
And
gonna
when
have to
it's
keep
done
that in mind
well,
next time I
yeah.
watch Denny film.
I feel like you see a lot of it in Dune because you have to be introduced to so many new spaces
Mm.
that he has to really set up. Here is this. This is here. This is how things relate to each other.
If you can go back one page, I just want to
Yeah.
comment that like uh, Capullo does keep away from traditional comics grids and just a lot of traditional page designs, but every now and then he would get a situation like, you know, show six mouths eating,
Mm,
and there seems to be a resistance to doing anything sort of traditional, and it's sort of like if I'm going to do six similar looking panels, I'm going to stagger every second one
yeah.
just to make it look interesting, and that's going to be a reoccurring thing that we see even in some of these issues coming up. Is even if you have a 9 panel grid, you're going to do it in a slightly different way than how anybody else is going to do a 9 panel grid. Which
Yeah.
there's one page in issue 100 which I'm thinking of specifically.
Mm.
That is what I was going to jump to next because there's a lot between here and the end, but I figure it's 11 o'clock. Let's jump directly to issue 100 because it is an issue that I have. Don't think I actually came to Spawn until he was actually off the book. Like I had,
Oh yeah.
yeah, because I
Oh,
had I
Oh,
had found out about it. I did not realize one that Capullo was gone yet. Like I had no information other than, oh, I like this art, and this is a book that is produced. But in my timeline, I'm like, it's May 2000, and I am wasting like
yeah.
a class in high school just trying to find as many of these images as possible. I don't realize until the summer that, oh no, this is done. You missed it. You can only go back now. You are not getting any new
Mm.
stuff. You can
Mm.
only go back.
so what was your first Spawn comic then?
I think I picked up a several month old issue of
Oh
100.
right, okay, yeah. Oh, 100 was
Yeah,
100 like the first physical Spawn comic you ever owned?
I think so. Yeah,
Oh,
it was so
okay.
long ago. It was 25 years ago, though.
I
Oh
think
my God, it was
29 was my
25
first.
years ago.
Yep, 25 years ago. Wow.
Ugh. But I also saw like these first few pages were put up on the website. So for the longest time, I was like, I got to get
Oh,
whatever
okay.
this is in. Whatever this is, I got to find it. So this right here, this is the Spawn that I have always held as like the Spawn. This is what he should look like. His face is collapsing in on itself. It's so, I don't know, desiccated something.
Hmm.
It's gotten eaten away by the bugs that live inside of him, and that cape is just a thing unto itself. Like it's wearing him at this point, and I love that the chains come out of the black now. Like they're not even coming out of the skulls because it used to be like they hung across the cape to keep it on, and then it was kind of like a belt, like it was a giant
Yeah.
loop.
Yeah.
But now they're just things unto themselves that are kind of in a loose coalition with one another, and I just love that design.
So I'd stopped reading by this point. Does he still have the cylinder leg?
I believe he
Oh,
does.
that giant boot.
I think he
Yeah.
does.
Yeah. Yeah. He does. Yeah. Yeah.
You just don't
It's
see it
there.
that often. Yeah,
The costume design has not
Oh,
changed
there
since
it is. Yep.
32.
Yeah,
right
it's right
here.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Also,
yeah.
an underappreciated the design of women. I know the '90s gets a bad rap for how female characters are depicted, but I think as far as Cheesecake goes, Capullo is a number one Duke of New York when it comes to this. Like she looks great,
Mm.
and not in a, broken spine kind of way. Like that's a pose that an actual human woman could get into.
Yeah, definitely.
Hmm.
But also, these guys just like scared out of their minds. I don't know. The acting. I think his acting gets better as he goes too.
I love the jaw on Spawn. The jaw is sort of like jutting out in
it's
a
like it's hanging
cartoony
off of
way.
him almost. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was never quite clear on what's the deal with the body he's in. It seems like because it several times he digs up the corpse of Al Simmons,
Oh yeah,
but he's like, "Oh,
Yeah.
but
So
I'm an
it's
actual
kind of
body. What am I?"
like a cloned, decomposed corpse of, because he becomes Spawn 5 years after his death,
Right,
right?
right, right.
So I think that they keep the corpse there, but he manifests as whatever he was at that time. I don't know if I'm explaining it right, but basically, yeah, he's a corpse. But the suit kind of keeps his decomposed state in that state, so he never
Right.
decomposes any more than that at
Yeah.
any given time, right?
In the back of this issue, I'm just realizing now too. McFarlane points out Greggy has drawn more images of Spawn without the mask than with it.
really?
By issue 100, yeah. There's a point
Wow.
where he just unless he's going into some kind of battle, no mask, no nothing.
It's probably just more fun for Capullo to draw it that way.
I think so. Yeah, the eyes and the
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
the hairs coming off and yeah.
You
Oh
know,
yeah, here we go.
yeah. So there's that 9 panel grid I was talking about. Like, now, how is this different from like a traditional 9 panel grid from what you see?
12.
Well, like, I mean, if you get rid of that first panel, it's like
Actually, excuse me, that's a long panel down. So yeah, 10 panel
yeah. If you
grids.
were to ignore that, there's a traditional 9 panel grid on this
Yep.
page,
Yep.
and
Yep.
the difference is the layering of things, where you have the center panel which has this border, and he made the top and the bottom longer so that you could clearly tell that the outer panels are on top, or like floating on top of that panel,
Yeah,
and then you have the heartbeat panels in the background even further behind, so there's 3 different layers going on.
yeah, and you keep her in focus by like her panel in focus by not having anything overlapping it.
Hmm.
Yeah, very good. So when he's going to do anything traditional, he's going to find a way to do it different,
Yeah,
to make it look, he's basically, I'm going to do a 9 panel grid, I'm going to do it my way.
yeah,
So, yeah, it's very cool.
it's super fun. I think this is a good example too of how he thinks in terms of cinematics, right? Like the jarring introduction of what's happening. The long panel is pretty sedate, right? That
Hmm.
uh, ambulance isn't tear-assing out of there.
Hmm.
It's just backing in. There's stuff going on. But as soon as you cut to here, it's the wheel in motion, heartbeat. They're going as fast as they can with the speed lines. She's in a desperate situation.
When I see that wheel, I hear the squeaking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
because it's
man.
all rickety and
100%.
yeah,
But
it
then you
it sort
go
of
to
hits you.
the middle panel of that Cyan with the oxygen mask on her face, and she's obviously passed out. And then it quickly goes to the doctor and Terry Fitzgerald, her father, like they're freaking out,
I
and
love
then it
the way
goes
they're
back
layered
to her
though.
face.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. It just, this is something like, you can't just do random close-up shots and just expect it all to make sense, even if it's all contained in one scene, one page. But like, it has to go from one to the other. It has to lead
Well, and
the
close-up
reader
shots
too.
like this sell the chaos.
yeah,
Again,
Basically,
yeah.
if you don't have 100% context of what's going on, it feels uncomfortable and chaotic, and that's what he's
Hmm.
going for.
Yes, 100%.
and then I really like the way they get across descending into hell. It's just a big ass staircase, but the bam, 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 bam.
Oh yeah, very cool.
Hmm.
Yeah,
And
working in the staircase of these to the staircase. It's really
Hmm.
nice.
it's a descent.
Yeah.
And on that next page, like the colorist is even viewing this as like layers, like panels are layers on top of each other, because
Yeah.
the
Putting
colorist
that
is adding shadows
putting that
under
drop
the
shadow
The
panels.
down.
panels, yeah, yep, yeah.
It's
Haberlin was on
very
this. It was Haberlin, right?
do any other artists do
It is,
this? This whole layering of panels?
I want to say, well, Coipel did, if you'll recall.
A little bit, yeah, I guess.
I think this is actually something though that he drops in Batman. It'll be interesting to see what a decade out of the industry changes
So
about his approach.
so this is his last issue of Spawn. What
Yep.
does he do right after this?
Well, he is kept on salary by McFarlane because McFarlane does not want to lose him. He's just like, nope, I'll just keep paying you. And now he's essentially got money coming in, no real expectations. He has made allusions to betrayal and divorce, but his life falls apart. He gets divorced, and as he has spoken about at length, he falls into alcoholism for the
Right.
next 5 to 7-ish years. He seems to just kind of brute force his way out. He doesn't really talk about recovery or anything. What he really uses to get out of it is how disappointed he is with one, his art, and two, his workouts. He keeps track of the declining quality of both, and it hits him one day to, damn it, I'm going to get out of this.
Hmm.
But he makes a point of saying in interview with Kevin Smith that he did for Fat Man on Batman that in some ways that probably wasn't the best for him. Like if Todd had cut him loose, that would have been better for him. But he always had Todd to go back to and
He
the
had
money to go
income.
back to. Yeah.
Yeah.
There was no real stakes on the line.
He had income to just do toy box art or whatever spot art, magazine art.
Yeah, he was doing the covers
Yeah,
during this
posters
time.
and stuff. Yeah, the
Yeah,
covers
yeah,
and
yeah.
So
He kept
do you
doing the
think
covers.
a lot of that was Todd McFarlane being a really good friend? Or
I
is just
I think it was him. I think it was Todd trying to be as good a friend as he knew how, because they don't live in the same city or anything, right? Todd is in Arizona, and
and Todd
Capullo
has
is
his
in.
own problems. So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because at that time, I think I want to say Tony Twist is suing him,
yeah,
and Gaiman is during that 10 years is when those suits come out. But he also reaches 100 and tells Todd, "Look, at 100, I'm done," because he had just been doing it so long. Like it is the longest
there's a
thing he has
grind.
ever committed
yeah.
to, and he didn't know what he wanted to do next, but he just knew it's not going to be this. We'll talk about a bit more about why he gets back into it, but I will give a preview. He finds love once again.
Right on.
Beautiful.
Yep.
And his actual return to comics was not Batman itself. It was a Spider-Man Jay Leno backup and a bunch of the Marvel comics that were coming out in the early 2000s.
I remember him
Uh,
drawing that Jay Leno face.
I do
Yeah,
not. I'll have to look
those
into that.
backups were in all the Marvel comics.
I
Yeah,
just remember like him adding his signature squiggly lined mouth to Jay Leno's caricature.
yeah.
I'll have to look into that because I know his return as Hunt, first doing the layouts for Ryan
Could be.
Ottley,
Yeah.
and then taking over at issue 6 because he's now got kids to take care of. That's when he puts the call out to Marvel and DC. Hey, I'm back.
And,
Let
and
me
the,
know.
the Jay Leno thing was like what 10 pages? I mean
Yeah.
that was like
10
a
pages over a
footnote.
couple of months. So
Yeah, it
pretty
was just
much.
a footnote. It wasn't really.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, I'll look into that because I haven't heard of that, but that'll be interesting to find out more about. Also, this great motion. He's twisting. He's been slapped. I just love it.
Interesting that he didn't black out the background.
Yeah.
But I mean, I get obviously he had some sort of reason. I
Well,
just wonder if the colorist is like, what am I gonna do with this? Like,
Yeah.
the blacks on Spawn really do signify Spawn, right? I wonder if he's
yeah.
leaving all of the silhouettes and shadows just for that character. And then we will see. Oh! Oh!
Oh.
Oh! Weirdly enough, this will play into Marvel Comics, I think in 2015, 14, 15.
This scene?
kind of.
Really?
Because Angela dies here, because I think at this time, Gaiman is already bringing up, hey, if you're a company about creator ownership and I created Angela, then don't I own Angela? And to McFarlane's mind, no, I paid you for work. But the ethos of Image is whatever you create, you own. So I think to sidestep that issue, he kills Angela off here, just so it's like, well, now I don't really have to worry about it.
Hmm.
And
And
then,
he
long
does
story short, Neil Gaiman sues, wins Angela. There was some sort of trade because Tom McFarlane got to keep Cagliostro, and
medieval
Neil Gaiman
spawn.
got to keep Angela. And then Neil Gaiman sells Angela to Marvel. And so, how does when Marvel debuts Angela, how do they reference this scene?
They don't reference, I don't think that they reference the scene, but they definitely do reference the fact that actually I think what they reference is later on when he takes her body to heaven, which in the Marvel comics is revealed to be the 10th sphere of the Yggdrasil tree,
Oh,
was
okay.
that had previously been cut off. Her death here allows for like a universal transfer or something. So like she'll make vague reference to this sort of thing.
Yeah.
References that are legally distinct from Spawn, but you'll get this feeling of, oh, okay, so there was something going on. And it's a vague connection, but it is enough, I think, for comics audiences to tie the two together in their mind.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Also, how often have we seen somebody carrying a dead body? I really like the way he's drawn her. He's drawn this happening.
Yeah,
I
it's
don't know
very
why.
well done. Yeah.
Yeah. But that will bring us to the final shot. What a way to go out.
Yeah, I love the
Yeah.
foreground elements.
Yep, the angle. I love that it's all broken and twisted. Like these buildings shouldn't hold themselves up. The
He also incorporates chains there. He
Yep.
doesn't usually use chains in those red silhouettes.
Ooh, good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that
They look
giant,
nice.
giant moon.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, it's
That moon
always
though.
giant. Yeah, you can always see the impact craters and everything. But I even like just down here the scuzzy look of the city in the deep background.
Of New
It's
York there, yeah.
Yeah, it's just it's such a great pose, and shout outs to the colorist too for keeping the delineation between Spawn is in the night, the sun is rising, but Spawn don't live in the sun. He's gonna get out of there before that sun rises.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah. Yeah, I like
Yeah.
that.
So that brings us to the end of this retrospective of the first half of Capullo's career. He'll be out of comics for the next 9, 10 years. I can't quite nail down just because of like when he starts, but I know that he was offered AVX at one point.
He was, yeah.
Yeah,
You
and
had to make a choice.
I kicked
yeah,
myself that he
yeah.
didn't
Well,
take it.
he does talk about how all he knew he was hired for at DC was Batman. He didn't know what it was, and they were very tight-lipped about the new 52 at that time. So they
Right?
had to send him, they were like, sign this NDA and we'll tell you what Batman is. And I guess curiosity gets the better of him eventually because he signs the NDA and then they tell him full reboot, you're on Batman #1. And I guess when he heard that, that's when he's like, no problem. Yep, that's what it's going to be.
Yeah.
Marvel, I've already been there. DC, Batman, there's no better choice than taking Batman.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's basically your preview for the
For
next
number two.
Greg Capullo
Yeah.
episode we'll do, which won't be next week. We'll probably pick this back up in January, I guess.
Yeah, because I haven't had. I want to get deep into the what happened behind the scenes to make the new 52 happen. I wanna bring some of that to light. I know
Right on.
there's some stuff, but got to find more. Did either of you get a chance to draw anything?
I
Not
wish
for
I
this
could
week,
say.
All right.
but
Well,
next week or for the next Capullo episode, I've got a Spawn Batman coming.
excellent, excellent. Well, I did. Yes. I went again. I went with the shape.
Oh wow!
God
I
damn.
love how you're leaning into color these days.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I don't know. Every time
Nice
while
one.
I'm doing it, I'm like, hell yeah, let's do this. As soon as I'm done, this could have been done better. But every
So, are
little
you
bit.
still using the pencil crayons?
I am, yeah, but I think I might pick up some markers or an actual watercolor set. One of our viewers actually did point out in the comments, thank you by the way, to keep in mind these are water soluble. You can push and pull. You can pull them off if you need to. So
Mm.
pull them off. Cut that. You can lighten them.
You need to get like an actual watercolor set because
Yeah.
I guarantee you're going to say to yourself, "Why didn't I do this sooner?"
I think so, yeah. I tried with the Nemo one to think in terms of, okay, dark to light. This one has made me think, you know what? I think I'm too reliant on the ability to lay them down, and I'm not really leaning into for lack of a better term, artifacts of the medium, like just the weird happenstance of using watercolor.
Man, fuck, man, I'm jealous that you're doing all this extra color work. I haven't been able to find any extra time to do it. I just
Mm.
Well,
started a
you
new issue of assorted crisis events, and there's just like there's no time.
number 6?
Yeah, I think we're so far ahead. I'm drawing number 7, and then gonna go back to number 6
Oh
afterwards.
wow.
But
That's weird, but all right.
yeah, I mean, there's a slight continuity, but most of them they're all just short stories. So
Mm.
yeah, there's a lot of thought put towards the order that it will be seen in trade. So
Mm.
there's an architecture being less about like continuity issues or anything, but more about every story's different. So more about how each short story feels, and
Okay.
yeah,
And how they relate
but
to each other.
yeah. So issue 7 is requiring some more cartooning from me.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, it was very inspirational to see this Capullo stuff.
So remember, audience, if you want to make sure you see Eric's work, pre-order at your local comic book store. Assorted crisis events.
Written by Dennis Camp, and everybody else on the team are Eisner winners. So we have
Hell
Eisner
yeah.
Award winner Jordi Belair, and for coloring, and Eisner Award winner for lettering Hassan Otsman Elhau.
Awesome.
Right
Awesome.
on. Right on.
This book, you guys, this book. I can't wait
Yeah,
to see it.
I can't wait, man. I can't
It'll
wait.
be out from this image eye over the corner here that we see. Yeah, I'm gonna have
Almighty Eye.
Hell
yeah,
yeah.
which is like my favorite publisher. So I have an image book coming out in March.
March. Get
Right
those
on.
orders in.
All right. Well, thanks for watching, everyone. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. If you have any artwork geared towards Greg Capullo's Spawn or any of his other work, we'd love to see it. So please post it in the comments below.
Yeah.
And we'll see you next time.